Bo Jackson was the first superhero of my generation.
Something mythical about everything that he did.
Bo would dominate in football and baseball just the way he dominated in the late 80s.
And he makes the catch! Bo Jackson timing that high drive.
I had to come across the field to get Bo. I went and got Bo.
You went and got him?
But when I got there, Bo... Yeah.
Oh, really?
He did.
He got you.
There are stars and there are superstars, and then there was Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson's legend is bigger than the truth. The Kingdome, Seattle, November 30th, 1987. A rookie running back takes a handoff at his own 9-yard line, turns the corner, and simply never stops. Past the safety, past the linebacker who spent the week promising to shut him down until there's nobody left to blow past. He crosses the goal line still at full speed and disappears into the tunnel behind the end zone.
Can't run him down. He had the angle, but there goes Bo. And nobody catches Bo. Touchdown.
His own teammates chasing him just to catch up. The broadcast booth joked that he might not stop till Tacoma.
He may not stop till Tacoma. He's gone.
91 yards on his 25th birthday in his 5th NFL game. Now hold that image, because here's the sentence that's about to ruin it. Bo Jackson never rushed for 1,000 yards in a season. He never played a full 16-game schedule. He never carried the ball 200 times in a year. He finished his career with fewer rushing yards than players most fans couldn't pick out of a lineup. 38 games, 23 starts, 2,782 rushing yards, 16 touchdowns.
15-10, breaks a tackle, 5, touchdown Raiders, Bo Jackson.
1 Pro Bowl. Now ask 100 football fans who the most terrifying athlete in NFL history was. Most of them will still say Bo. So what are we actually remembering? The player? Or the greatest myth professional football ever manufactured? Bo Jackson's legend is bigger than the truth.
3rd and 1 from the 2. Here's Bo. And here goes Bo for the touchdown.
By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why that sentence is both an insult and the highest compliment football has ever paid a running back. Because here's the paradox at the center of Bo Jackson's career. His career totals give him no legitimate claim to a place among the greatest running backs who ever played. And the circumstances behind those totals make the totals almost meaningless. He never gave football a full season. He arrived every year after months of Major League Baseball.
Bo Jackson is there. As here's a throw, Gallego tagging it, Bo gets it! What a throw by Bo Jackson!
He never had a normal training camp or a real franchise workload. He accumulated 515 career carries, a number some starters reach in 2 seasons, and still averaged 5.4 yards a carry. The question isn't whether Bo Jackson was overrated. The question is far more uncomfortable than that. How do you judge a resume too small for greatness when that resume only represents half of what the man was capable of giving the sport? The boy they called a wild boar hog. Before any of that, you need to know where Bo Jackson actually came from, because almost none of it points toward greatness. Vincent Edward Jackson was born in Bessemer, Alabama, the 8th of 10 children. His father never married his mother and raised a separate family across town. Bo didn't meet him until he was 10. His mother worked as a housekeeper, stretching almost nothing to feed 10 kids. And young Vincent filled the hole his father left with his fists, breaking windows, stealing bicycles, beating up other kids so routinely.
There was always violence in my childhood, whether I was beating someone up or somebody's trying to beat me up, or you always had to take care of yourself. And being the 8th of 10 kids, I was always into it with my older brothers and sisters, just about something.
That his own family started calling him a wild boar hog. Eventually, they just shortened it to Bo. He also stuttered so badly as a child that he could barely say his own name in class, part of why, to this day, Bo Jackson refers to himself in the third person. Saying Bo instead of I was a technique a speech therapist taught him to get the words out. This is not the origin story attached to most sports legends. What saved him was a track coach named Dick Atchison, who pulled him onto a team before high school and became something close to the father figure he never had. By Macadori High School, he was rushing for over 1,000 yards a season, hitting home runs by the dozen, and running track fast enough that the New York Yankees drafted him before he ever set foot on a college campus. He said no to the Yankees. He'd promised his mother he would be the first person in his family to attend college. That promise is where the football legend actually begins. The numbers that don't match the myth. Let's be honest about what's actually on that stat sheet, because the culture around Bo Jackson almost never is. If another running back walked away from football with this exact resume, 38 games, 515 carries, 0 1,000-yard seasons, 0 All-Pro nods, nobody would call him a legend. A lot of fans wouldn't remember his name at all. That should make you uncomfortable. It's supposed to. Somewhere between the highlight reels and the Nike commercials, Bo Jackson stopped being remembered like a player with 515 carries and started being remembered like a man who owned an entire decade of football. He didn't own a decade. He owned moments. But here's what those bare numbers conceal. While every other featured back in the league spent August and September in training camp, learning schemes, letting their bodies heal, Bo Jackson was in a batter's box, facing major league pitching, playing almost every day for the Kansas City Royals. Then, once baseball ended, he'd walk straight into an NFL locker room mid-season and run through professional defenses as if the sport had simply been waiting on him. Look at it that way, and the incomplete numbers stop looking disqualifying. They start looking astonishing. In 1989, the best season of his football career, he rushed for 950 yards on 173 carries, a 5.5-yard average.
Jackson.
While missing roughly a third of the schedule to play professional baseball. What other running back in history was expected to prepare for NFL defenses while coming off a 135-game big league season? He came within striking distance of 1,000 yards a third of a season late. That's a completely different sentence than, Bo Jackson never had a 1,000-yard season. It should be the sentence people actually remember.
Week ago, here's Bo to the 20.
But hold that sympathy for a second, because it's about to get complicated. Football didn't just lose part of Bo Jackson to circumstance, it lost him by his own choice. The part Bo chose. Everyone blames the hip injury for stealing Bo Jackson's NFL career.
Does not appear to be seriously injured and gets a big hand from this crowd. What a player.
Almost nobody talks about the part of his career he gave away willingly, years before that injury ever happened. To understand why he was willing to give football away at all, you have to understand what he already was before the NFL ever got a real look at him. At Auburn, Bo Jackson wasn't a two-sport curiosity. He was a two-sport terror. 4,303 career rushing yards and the 1985 Heisman Trophy on the football field.
Bo Jackson hit behind the line, breaks tackle, 3 tackles. He's gone. Touchdown Auburn.
A junior year .401 batting average and 17 home runs in 42 games on the baseball diamond.
There's bouncer right side. They got to hurry. We'll check the speed. There's a letter. They don't get it. Jackson.
Two different professional sports were telling him the same thing. You could be the best we've ever seen in whichever game you choose. Bo Jackson never chose. That refusal to choose is the entire story. The same defiance that got a kid in Bessemer nicknamed after a wild animal, now aimed at 2 professional leagues instead of a classroom. He picked baseball first. Coming out of Auburn as the reigning Heisman winner, he was the first overall pick of the 1986 NFL Draft, selected by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers select first choice on the first round. Running back from Auburn, Bo Jackson.
He never played a single down for them. The relationship soured before it started. Buccaneers owner Hugh Culverhouse flew Jackson to Tampa on a private jet for a pre-draft visit, assuring him and Auburn officials it wouldn't affect his NCAA eligibility. It did. The NCAA ruled the flight an improper benefit and ended Jackson's final college baseball season on the spot. Furious at what he saw and believed as a manipulation to force him into football, Jackson vowed never to play for Tampa Bay, and he didn't. He walked away from the #1 overall pick and signed with the Kansas City Royals instead. A year later, the Los Angeles Raiders took a 7th-round flyer on him and made an offer no other team would. Play baseball all summer, then join the Raiders once the Royals' season ended. Bo Jackson accepted. For 4 seasons, that was the arrangement. But here's the truth. The injury didn't take Bo Jackson's complete NFL career away from him. He had already given half of it away himself, on his own terms, to the team whose visit cost him the remainder of his final college baseball season, and thought it could bully him into gratitude. Did Bo Jackson lose the chance to become the greatest running back in NFL history? Or did he refuse to give football the commitment required to become one? There's no clean answer, and that's exactly why it matters. The defense. Bo Jackson never owed the NFL exclusivity. He was talented enough to dominate 2 professional sports at once, and refusing to let one league own him completely was part of what made him extraordinary.
Bo. Touchdown.
The prosecution. Potential isn't greatness. You cannot rank a player alongside Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, Jim Brown, or Emmitt Smith based on what he might have done. Those men built their legacies across thousands of carries and a decade of sustained excellence. Bo Jackson built his across 515 carries and 4 unfinished autumns. Both of those things are true at the same time. That's what makes him impossible to file away cleanly.
Bo Jackson got a good block from Allen.
So tell us in the comments right now, does a resume this small disqualify a player from the greatest ever conversation? Or does what he did with it earn him a pass nobody else gets? The culture certainly didn't punish Bo Jackson for splitting himself between 2 sports. It worshipped him for it. In 1989, Nike built an entire ad campaign around the idea that he wasn't choosing at all. Bo knows. Football, baseball, running, even hockey, with Wayne Gretzky shaking his head at the punchline. The commercials weren't exaggerating. They were pointing a camera at what was already true. A part-time football player had become one of the most famous athletes on the planet without ever completing a single full NFL season. And once you accept that a part-time player made this choice and that the country celebrated him for making it, the next question is what he actually did with the fraction of football he allowed himself. The night Bo Jackson stopped being an athlete and became a myth. You already watched the opening seconds of this video. That was the run. Here's the rest of the night around it. The whole country had spent that fall being told rookie linebacker Brian Bosworth was the next evolution of the position. An $11 million contract, a mullet, and a mouth to match. And days before kickoff, the Boz had told reporters he'd contain Jackson. That touchdown you just watched came in the second quarter, on 3rd and 6 from Jackson's own 9-yard line. Later that same night, near the goal line, Bo Jackson put his shoulder into Brian Bosworth himself and carried him backward into the end zone.
3rd and 1 from the 2. Here's Bo. And here goes Bo for the touchdown.
The exact player the league had spent months marketing as football's next superhero, reduced in real time to a supporting character in somebody else's highlight. Final line. 221 rushing yards on 18 carries, 3 touchdowns. Still a Monday Night Football single-game rushing record more than 3 decades later. Bosworth played only 17 more NFL games. His career never recovered. Bo Jackson's had barely started. And here's the detail that gets lost in the highlight. That game came 29 days after Bo Jackson's very first NFL carry. He didn't need a season to announce himself. He needed 81 carries, his entire rookie workload, spread across 7 games after he'd spent most of the year playing a Major League Baseball schedule and joined the Raiders in November. 554 yards, 6.8 a carry, 6 total touchdowns.
Burst through a man at the 30. He's heading all the way, I believe, to the 10, the 5. Touchdown, Bo Jackson!
That's not a player finding his footing. That's a man treating the NFL like a warm-up act. Then came 1989, arguably the single most absurd season any professional athlete has produced in the modern era. Bo Jackson hit 32 home runs and drove in 105 RBI for the Royals, both career highs, led all of baseball in all-star fan voting, started the game leading off for the American League, hit a 448-foot home run off Rick Reuschel, and was named the game's MVP.
I don't know if there's ever been anyone doing it.
Hey. He's remarkable, and look at that one. Bo Jackson says hello.
Then, once the baseball season ended, he walked into an NFL backfield and rushed for 950 yards at 5.5 yards a carry. It wasn't just the numbers. That June, after grounding out in frustration, Bo Jackson snapped a wooden bat clean over his own helmet like it was a breadstick, an image still replayed on highlight shows today. A year later, chasing down a fly ball in Baltimore, he ran full speed into the outfield wall, and instead of crashing into it, he ran up it, several feet straight up a vertical wall, before dropping back down and firing the ball back to the infield like nothing had happened.
Bo won the charge! Bo is there! Yo, mama, run that wall!
Maybe Bo Jackson didn't fail to produce a normal Hall of Fame resume. Maybe a normal resume was never built to measure someone attempting something abnormal. The injury that protected the legend, it destroyed. Now for the part of this story that's uncomfortable to say out loud, but has to be said. January 13th, 1991, AFC Divisional Playoffs. Raiders against the Cincinnati Bengals, the only playoff game of Bo Jackson's career. Early in the third quarter, he broke off a 34-yard run and was tackled from behind by Bengals linebacker Kevin Walker. Jackson's hip dislocated and fractured on the play. He walked off under his own power, leaving the game with 6 carries for 77 yards, as the Raiders won 20-10. He never played another down in the NFL. He thought at the time he'd suffered nothing worse than a hip pointer. He told reporters afterward he expected to play in the AFC Championship the following week. The Raiders lost that game 51-3 without him. The injury later triggered a vascular necrosis, a bone disease that cuts off blood flow to the joint. Bo Jackson underwent hip replacement surgery in 1992 at 29 years old. That injury didn't just end his career. In a strange, brutal way, it protected his legend from ever being tested, because his body froze at its absolute peak. Fans never had to watch his explosiveness fade, his yards per carry decline, a younger back take his job, or a stretch of ordinary, mortal seasons. He never had to prove he could carry a full workload for a full season, because he was never given the chance to fail at it. Bo Jackson's injury robbed him of the opportunity to prove he was one of the greatest running backs who ever lived, but it also protected him from ever proving that he wasn't. Barry Sanders had to prove his greatness across a full decade. Walter Payton had to survive thousands of hits. Emmitt Smith had to stay productive long after his speed disappeared. Jim Brown had to dominate year after year, while every defense knew exactly what was coming and still couldn't stop it. Bo Jackson's legend asks for the same reverence without ever facing the same test. That's a hard thing to say about a man whose career ended in a hospital bed. It's also true. So turn the evidence back on itself. Bo Jackson was never tested across 3,000 carries.
On 2nd and 3, Jackson trying to get around the corner. Touchdown, Raiders!
but what he produced across 515 of them came under conditions no other elite running back in history ever faced. He wasn't protected by specialization, wasn't entering football rested, wasn't building an entire year around one sport. He essentially showed up halfway through the story every single season and still became the character nobody who watched him has ever forgotten. Bo Jackson didn't build a Hall of Fame career. He built Hall of Fame memories without ever being given enough football to construct the career those memories should have belonged to. The man after the myth. Here's what almost never makes the highlight reel. What happened to Bo Jackson once the cameras stopped needing him? He didn't disappear quietly. Against his own doctor's advice, he returned to Major League Baseball in 1993 after that hip replacement, the first Major League Baseball player to return with an artificial hip. In his first at-bat back, he hit a home run.
He hammers this one way back! Oh, gone! Home run, Jackson!
He played 2 more seasons that way because he refused to let one injury be the last word on who he was. Decades later, Bo Jackson has talked openly about what carrying that body around feels like now. The artificial hip, an artificial shoulder, mornings where getting to the bathroom means a limp and a pair of slip-on shoes. He's called the injury that ended his football career nothing more than a speed bump in the road of his life.
And if you watch that play, when I hit the ground and roll over, you see my left hand touch my hip. Split second, I snapped my hip back in the socket. Because it was out of the socket before I stopped moving. And I popped it back in, and I'm like, oh, this is a hip horner. I'm not a very religious person, because you can talk to God 24/7, anywhere. But I know God had a better plan for me. You see, God put speed bumps in everybody's road of life. My hip injury was a speed bump in Bo Jackson's road of life. That's all it was. I got over it, went on down the road. It took me about 48 hours to get over the fact that I wasn't going to play football no more.
It took him, by his own account, about 48 hours to make peace with never playing football again. 48 hours. For a career most men would have spent the rest of their lives mourning. That, maybe more than any run or any home run, is the most Bo Jackson thing about Bo Jackson. The verdict. So let's answer this honestly, one question at a time. Was Bo Jackson one of the greatest running backs who ever played? No, not by career achievement. He didn't play long enough, produce enough, or absorb the cumulative punishment that designation actually requires. He has never been inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and by the numbers alone, that omission is defensible. Was Bo Jackson overrated? Statistically, yes. Athletically, almost certainly not. His reputation as a finished NFL legend outruns his resume by a mile, but the belief that he possessed all-time ability is backed by exactly what he produced under conditions that would have broken most players before they ever reached the field. Was he the greatest what-if in NFL history? The honest answer is more specific than that. Bo Jackson wasn't merely the greatest football career that never happened. He was the greatest football experiment that never reached its conclusion. The one time the sport got a glimpse of what a truly complete athlete could do to it, and never got to see how the story actually ended. And somewhere in Tampa, the team that tried to force his hand lost him for nothing and never got a single down out of the #1 overall pick in franchise history, is still living with the answer to that question too. Bo Jackson's legend is bigger than the truth. Maybe that's not an insult after all. Maybe it's the only way to describe a man who did more with 515 carries than most backs manage in a full career, and never once let the NFL find out what he could have done with the rest of them. If this video made you rethink everything you thought you knew about Bo Jackson, smash that like button and subscribe for more NFL documentaries uncovering the true stories behind football's most unforgettable legends. Drop a comment below. Was Bo Jackson the greatest athlete the NFL ever saw, or the greatest myth it ever created? End Zone Exposed is where the truth always scores.